Hey, we're back for another live stream. This is Dre.
Summer.
Yeah, so Summer, do a check-in here. What's alive in you right now?
What's alive in me right now is just needing to be quiet and just a level of exhaustion needs some space and time to rest a lot in the next couple of days. What's alive in you, Mr. Dre?
Hmm. What's alive in me is excitement, eagerness, to express myself.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to building on top of this conversation from our last conversation. Yeah, so eager about
Mm,
that.
right.
Yeah,
Yes, what you expressed last time because you were so frustrated getting onto the technology of this stream. Oh.
yeah. There's a lot of settings and bells and whistles that got to be in place to work out the kinks, right? And yeah, like I pressed the wrong button and got frustrated and was frustrated live and then expressed that truth, right? And I noticed there was a part of me that was embarrassed and ashamed in expressing that. Like there was my old self. I call it my showmanship, my performer self that would put on a stoic mask and pretend everything was cool and just let's go with the flow. Let's do this, right? Game face on, right? Though in that moment, it wasn't true to me. And I'm practicing radical honesty with myself and with those around me to speak through what's alive in me right now. And if it's anger, then so it is, because I want to get to the place where it's okay for me to express my emotions and to show that I can handle it. And so this sparked a conversation around the idea that feelings aren't facts, right? I'm sure you've heard of that floating around. And I love to explore that. I love to explore where that came from, where that paradigm came from. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, super interesting because I was with a group of women healers actually, and they're like, "Well, feelings aren't facts," and I'm like, "Oh, why not?" And one of the questions I asked them was like, muscle testing. Like most of people know, naturopaths, whatever, do that kind of thing right now. Kinesiology. They'll ask yes or no questions if supplements or other things are working for people. Hello, Elizabeta. Nice to see
Hello.
you all the way from Romania. Um, and so I asked, like, well, if they muscle test, what are they muscle testing in your body? Like,
Mm,
what are they testing?
mm,
Her response was, well, whatever's good or what's good for you or bad for you. In other words, what's life giving for you? And the answer is in your body, yes or no. It's definitely in there. So if it is, why is it that we need someone else to test us with very closed ended questions, yes or no, if it's life giving to us or not? Don't we have any other mechanism that tells us when situations, foods, emotions, different things are good for us or not? What's life giving? As Marshall Rosenberg will say, the life serving energy that motivates and sustains us. How do we know we're connected to that or not? Is it by someone else's outside information? The facts? Don't trust your feelings. Trust what someone else is telling you. The science. For example, broccoli. This was an example she used. Broccoli has all these vitamins and minerals. They're good for you. You should eat it.
mm.
What if you can't digest broccoli?
Right.
Everyone's unique. So for me, this is all about our inner resonant truth, what I call our inner resonant truth. I think some of your men, they have what's the word Connor uses for it? Your direct felt experience?
Mhm.
Hmm. Because as infants, we come into the world with we're we're sentient beings, and I think we're energetically informed. And somehow our culture has been teaching us to discount that, which then leads to all sorts of weird things. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get back to more of that
Yeah.
recognition of our own yes or no in our body and the information that we really do have.
Right. Because I think about, like, if I'm given feelings, I'm giving feelings for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't gifted this insight, whatever's happening in my body, without a reason. Um, and so I can only speak from my own experience, from how I was raised, that emotions weren't,
Hey, Naomi.
say, hey, Naomi. Yeah, feelings weren't expressed openly and freely other than anger. And it was more of like putting on a good face and just go about the day. And so I was very stoic. I knew how to put on a good mask. So from my family of origin, I was taught that let's not express emotion besides anger. And when I was out in the workforce and what I observed in media, Hollywood, what was sent to me was that men were strong. Men don't show weakness. Men don't
Mm.
cry. That was the
And
message I got. Okay.
feelings are weak. That's the other part of that,
Oh,
eh?
for sure. And that's where my shame came from last week when I expressed my anger and frustration. Because there's a part of me that says, Dre, you're weak. If you can't handle clicking on the wrong button and you're letting your anger control you, you're weak. That was what my part of me was saying to me. And there's a part of me that believed that. Oh, I should have been stronger. I I I,
Mm,
I let my emotions take over me. And so
mm.
it creates this polarity, this dichotomy of being so stoic to the point where I'm just no emotion. I've lived that life where I people would see me, I look well, I drive a nice car and thought I had it all together, but inside I was dying. I was battling anxiety and depression. I didn't know why, but I was numbing it through drugs, alcohol, all that. Stoic. No one could tell. And I'm sure you saw that side of me, right? Where you couldn't even read what was going on in my face. I have those moments.
You do have those moments. Yep.
Yeah.
You
That
do.
that,
You
like,
still do.
can't
Yep.
seem to read that, and it's a learned behavior. Then there's this other side where I was given the opportunity to allow myself to express my emotions, but then where was I going with that?
Mm.
Yes, I was expressing myself and da 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 da, but then I'm like, well, this kind of feels good, but I still kind of feel stuck. I'm not going anywhere. It's kind of like talk therapy. I'm like, where are we going? And I got frustrated. And there's a part of me is like, told you, you express your emotions, you're going to show people your cards, and you're weak. You should know how to handle it. So that's why that shame, that embarrassment of being able to express myself comes in. That still comes in. I'm massaging to the point now I'm practicing expressing my anger, my sadness, my grief, my shame openly. Though from the perspective that I got it, I can handle this. And I'm in a safe space where I can look at these emotions as it's just another form of data.
Mhm.
That's
Love
it.
that. It's data. It is data.
Yeah. So why am I blocking myself from that data? And hey, if I went to war like our forefathers did, I think the emotions will get in the way of killing someone. True. So, so if they want me to
Yeah, it
kill someone,
would, wouldn't it? It would get in the
they
way.
probably don't want me to feel and
No.
connect to the humanity of the other person, right?
No. So true.
Totally makes sense. They want me to be a robot. But if I can really connect and really connect to my humanity across the trench, no matter what country, what color you are, I connect with your humanity as well. And that you have the same needs, the same wants and desires, and the same issues and challenges I have. So why am I killing my fellow brother and my fellow sister? That's the power of feelings as I connect to my humanity and I drop that weapon. That you and I are the same. So going full circle is like, holy moly, these feelings, they're powerful. They're just another form of data. I love to use the check engine light to look and discover and go down this trail. And through Marshall's work, Marshall Rosenberg, it's connecting to my needs. And bam.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So then I'm sure people are wondering, why does it go off the rails so often? Why then do people get triggered? Why then are there such things where people are so upset, even killing their spouses? People are ghosting each other, divisions, all of these things. So, why then, if we're having these feelings, does it sometimes separate people? What's the difference between feelings being the data that we can use that allows us to see our humanity in each other versus the violence, the mental judgments, and the actual then leading to physical stuff? Like, what's the difference there?
I think that the difference there is kind of like the stimulus and response.
Mm.
And Viktor Frankl said that the space between the stimulus and response is the ultimate freedom. And it's my freedom to choose how I respond. In a case of like me observing something, that becomes the stimulus, right? And then within that space, I have many different thoughts, right? And that's where the thoughts come in and my preconceived judgments come in that leads me to react or respond in a certain way. And it's so subtle, it's so quick that when I don't catch it myself, let's say you do something and I get annoyed, if I'm not aware of that, I'm like, you're making you're making me annoyed right now, right? You're making me feel annoyed right now. It's like now I'm putting the focus on you because what I observed you is like you're making me feel this way. And actually just the truth is like it's my interpretation, my thought of what you're doing is causing me to feel that way. And it's so quick. It happens in the light of speed. So instead of saying, "Yeah, you're being so critical right now," I'm really giving my power away because now I'm saying I'm putting the control and power in you to change your behavior so that I'm happy. I'm looking to you to change, right? Rather than, huh, observing and then really observe what you're saying through your actions rather than making a judgment of it. And it's a practice because it's a new way of thinking and unwiring, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing is going back to, you're annoying me is um, instead of projecting that information outside, taking ownership on the inside. I feel annoyed because in my body, my stomach is clenching up and I'm feeling frustrated. So taking that information inside so that we know what it is that we need and communicate that in a way that is life giving for both people. Um,
Mm,
because even if I'm annoying you, the behavior that causes your annoyance isn't meant to annoy you, even if it is. And this is where I think people get stuck. They have this assumption that if you're annoyed, the other person's trying to annoy you, but that's not the case. Um, they're only doing what they're doing to get their own needs met too. And we're just so lacking in communication skills that we're not able to discern why someone else is doing something. So we have to label and judge it instead of asking, well, what need are they trying to meet by their behavior? Hmm. And opening up this conversation just it changes the whole game.
mm,
The whole game.
it does. And I love that where I check in with myself and like, yeah, why am I feeling annoyed? Because that's valid. That the emotion is coming up for a reason, right?
Hmm.
And versus like putting the blame on you, I take responsibility and I bring it inwards. Okay, I'm angry, I'm annoyed. Okay. And I connect it to the needs, what needs of mine are not being met right now. And I get clarity around that so that I can go meet those needs or ask for that need to be met. And that's taking back control, taking back power for myself. And another thing too is this practice of I feel, because it's not common that people express what they're feeling right now. Generally, how are you? Good, not bad, busy, fine. No, like how are you really? Right. And just building that vocabulary of what is this truth resonance that's happening in my body? What is the word that describes the body sensations that I'm feeling right now in my gut and my chest, my direct felt experience? And what I've noticed is when I say I feel, some people are jump to the gun to give me a free diagnosis, to give me an opportunity to fix me, to give me advice, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want that,
No, I
actually.
don't think anybody
Like
wants.
who wants that actually when they're just expressing themselves to be fixed without permission, right? But then that happens. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, why does that happen? And when I look back in my life, in my past relationships, whenever my ex would express her emotions, I immediately put on the fixer hat, got my toolbox, my Bob the Builder hat, and let's solve this. And now it could be two-part thing. One thing is I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to deal with this, so let's stop it. And the second thing is, oh, let me prove my worth. And there's an also part of me that says, well, this is my responsibility. You're expressing I feel. So I'm like, oh, shoot, is this about me? What did I do? So let me fix this. Let me help this. Right. And so I always love to preface when I say I feel, I'm just expressing myself. This is actually nothing about you. This is what I'm interpreting within my body in a way to help people relax, because some people might just jump to the gun because they feel at fault. Maybe they feel like it's their responsibility to do something when I'm expressing myself.
Yeah, and yeah, it's cultural conditioning, and I think it's I call it the fight, force, or fix paradigm. We're always told to fight cancer, fix situations, jump to resolving things, and somehow we've been taught that our feelings are wrong. That's how we get to all this dissociation, this numbness, this all of the abuse happens when we're stoic, when we're secret, when we're hiding what the truth is, probably out of a need to protect ourselves. But I think we're coming out of that age where there's an actual real perceived danger of being killed at any given moment, or um, to a place where we can just relate to another person. It's like you're feeling annoyed. Okay, tell me more about that. I love Marshall Rosenberg's saying, which is different from "How are you?" to "What's alive in you right now?" And that's whatever you're noticing is body sensations, your feelings, what's alive in you. And just to accept, honor, and trust whatever that is. Because the sooner we trust all that, the sooner we're all going to heal. There's no point in hiding it, pretending, acting. I think there's so much social media and Hollywood. We're always, well, what would other people think? My grandmother did that to my mom. Well, what would the neighbors think? So, how have we come to just judge our humanity in such a way that we've all just taken to acting?
Acting. Right. And hey, I know that well. When I'm not feeling up to snuff or frustrated, put on a good face. I'm good. Mm. And I would do that because I don't want to be seen as weak. Um, I want to be shown as competent, that I got this under control. Though at the same time, like this under control is like this suppression that
Mm, hmm.
I am angry, I am frustrated, but you know what? I'm not going to give it any energy, and I'm just going to move on. And this was my day where I use a lot of affirmations, and I'm not down on it, though I used it in a way that was a bypass of just talking good about myself. I get it. Positive psychology. I'm amazing. I'm doing great. I'm prosperous. I'm strong. I'm healthy. Powerful, right? Though I remember using it when I'm not feeling so right. And yeah, it changed my state. It did work.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, I
curious.
miss
Remus is saying, I have that problem. I'm curious if you could type out what that is exactly, what you're mentioning, what the problem is.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was saying,
Sorry. Just wanted to acknowledge Remus there.
yeah. Yeah, so I was expressing myself, well, suppressing it, and the issue with suppressing it was I miss out on the wisdom of
Hmm.
my feelings. So what would happen is I would basically hide all the stuff underneath the carpet or in the closet, and all these emotions were suppressed because I wasn't cleaning them out.
Yeah.
So all it took was some incident that would cause me to blow up, and that always seemed to happen. Like, I would just hold it, suppress it. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And then one day I'm not. And then I'll repeat the cycle.
Yeah. It's
Because
like a
then,
hurt coming through.
yeah. And I repeat the cycle because I'm not learning from the wisdom of those feelings. I'm not learning what my needs are. I'm not being aware of my people pleasing tendencies. I'm not aware of where I should set boundaries, right? Because I'm overextending myself. And my feelings of irritation was an indication that, hey, I have a need for respect or space or rest. Though I wasn't listening to that. I just kept going.
Right. And I remember Kevin, when we were in Seattle, saying that unexpressed aggression leads to violence. So when you don't have a way to express it, and one of our students in our classes says anytime she was upset, any kind of upsetness, her mother would just throw cold water in her face.
Wow. Yeah.
How shocking that is, and how that would just be like, okay, where did that emotion go?
Mm,
And so now emotion comes up, but it's like it gets stuck there, probably in the
mm,
anticipation of having water thrown in the face. So there's so many
right.
ways that we have been taught to suppress, repress, deny that data that connects us to the humanity in each other.
Mm,
If there's so much war in the world, even people in own families disconnecting from each other because we can't connect to our shared humanity, it is the most deleterious pattern that we have on the planet, and that's why I'm so passionate about the work that we do.
mm,
Oh, and that Remus is saying that's why he uses kickboxing to release anger and frustrations.
mm.
Yeah, and you've got a bag too, right, Dre?
Yeah, I have you back in the garage. Love working out. I know when I don't work out, I get angsty. There's and
Anxiety.
oh,
I
for
like that's a new
sure.
word. Anxious and
Um,
angsty.
just like uptight. It's a way to definitely help me move that energy, though at the same time, I really value it. I really appreciate moving my body, expressing my energy in that way, moving that energy, right? Letting that energy flow. The one thing too is I used to hit the gym. I used to be a gym rat, going to the gym like 6, 7 times a week, and I love it, right? Though I was missing the capacity to be able to process those emotions. So even though I went there to release,
Mm,
right, what I was suppressing, I was still in the same pattern loop. So it's like I'm collecting dirt and I'm showering. I'm collecting dirt and I'm showering. But then I'm missing out on the wisdom of, why am I collecting dirt? Where am I collecting dirt? What type of dirt do I want to collect and what I don't want to collect? So not only do I express myself through the gym, I'm also cultivating a practice to check in with myself, with my inner GPS of the wisdom of my needs are not being met or met in this case. That makes sense.
hmm Maybe we should, because needs, people think of them as those needy, selfish things. Um, so Marshall Rosenberg, beautiful, the core textbook we have, and if you want, you can type it in. We can send you a PDF of it. Speak peace in a world of conflict. He was a psychologist for 21 years, just to give you the background, who decided he was done after 21 years as a PhD in psychology. He was done being paid to judge people. So he built a system of communication um, with feelings and needs. Feelings being emotions or body sensations that alert us to our needs. And I love his definition of needs, which is words that describe the life serving energy that motivates and sustains us. So it's so interesting to me that we've all become slaves because we think of needs as selfish. Because, of course, slaves go to work and they work 12 hours a day. Sometimes they don't eat. You know, it's so interesting because we don't think of ourselves as slaves. We don't have someone outside of us telling us to work 12 hours a day. But how many of us are still doing that? How many of us forget to eat, don't take proper care of ourselves because we're not meeting our own needs, which is where the life serving energy that motivates and sustains us comes from? And when we'll be able to give ourselves permission to start living a more holistic life that has play and connection in it? And I know people are like, well, money, 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 like I need money to sustain myself. Well, there's got to be new decisions being made. Do we really need that big of a house? Do we need the fancy car? Do we need those things? And there's a whole other political structure, I think, that's in there that Marshall talks around too, in terms of the authoritarian and the system that we're in. But I think the first part of taking that back is learning to be authentic
Mm,
and bring back our humanity so we don't go to war for the countries and the powers that are telling us that one man is I don't know even what are they fighting over? Oil still? Do we really need all that stuff? I don't think so.
mm.
I forget to relax my mental state when I'm busy working. Yeah, and what happens if you relax your mental state? It's a good question.
Well, I mean, for me, like overworking, restlessness, I'm used to it. It becomes a muscle that I'm good at to be busy, and it comes with a sense of accomplishment, right? What are my needs are being met? Oh, I feel accomplished. I feel um, there's growth meets my need for autonomy. Um, but at the same time, I can also use it as a distraction, right? And so it's just the awareness of myself, like, where am I heading with this work? Um, and sometimes I might not be comfortable with quietness. You know, that's why meditation, starting with a meditation practice, especially when I'm restless, is so challenging because I'm thinking about so many things to do and I just want to end this meditation. So this makes me very reactive, right? It makes me very reactive to what comes in, a text message, an email, and I'm like immediately on that, trying to get it done right away, all done now. So essentially, I'm on a hamster wheel, and that's super stressful. It's super stressful, and it restarts because at the end of the day, I feel accomplished. But when I wake up the next day, it starts all over again. Right? And so with the meditation, with the breath, when I'm just with myself, I just build more capacity for stillness, and I build more capacity to allow myself to look at myself and introspect without the busyness. And sometimes I might be afraid of that, to be with my thoughts. I might not know how to navigate that. I don't know what to do with all of this. And then I resort back to what I'm familiar with. You know, but what am
What
I feeling? Right? What am I needing is the questions that I used to ask myself. I didn't know.
most people don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And it goes back to like, hey, you know what? How about I do express my feelings? Am I in an environment that creates safety for that? Where I'm not being fixed, judged, given advice, comforted? someone one-upping me with their own story. Yeah. So I get there's certain environments where it does make sense to share, and some that I gotta have the discernment to not share, just for my own safety as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's part of our goal, right? Is to build communities where it is safe, where we're sharing our shared humanity and creating that ripple effect where um, it reaches the networks. I believe there's a collective network where we all learn, we all evolve through. And I think when they say, um, who says that? Is that Nelson Mandela? The change starts with you.
Mm.
You can
Yeah,
only
it was,
change
Gandhi.
Gandhi, change
Be
yourself.
the
And what
be the
really
change you
means
wanna see in the world.
be the change you want to see in the world. And Marshall says, speak peace in a world of conflict. What you say next will change your world. And it's so true. What you say to yourself in any given moment, how you respond to someone else, if you can be in that stillness to respond from a place of compassion,
Mm.
because we're,
And
we're
we
all in
miss
a crazy
mm,
world.
well, it can be, yeah, there's a lot going on, yeah, and
Oh,
I hear you, Remus, I hear you.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I get those too, Remus. I have negative thoughts in my head, and if I judge it to be bad, then I'm afraid of them. 'Cause I'm afraid that they're gonna run me. They're gonna take over, right? And so, um, it's the appreciation of, like, that's why the meditation practice is so powerful, is to allow myself to be the witness, the observer, to allow myself to become the sky and to observe my thoughts because they come and go all the time. To allow my thoughts to be the clouds in the sky, right? And they say, like, judgments is a tragic lie of reality. It's just a tragic expression of what's alive in me. It's not true. The negative thoughts that I have and the judgments I have of myself and other people aren't true.
Well, I mean, in the moment they could be true because you're experiencing them, but like as we teach, we have these saboteur thoughts and survival mechanisms that take over our being at times when our needs are not met. So this is the importance of, a lot of people try that positive thinking, those affirmations to get rid of the negative, and then when they're trying to do that, they don't understand that it's a check engine light to understand that their needs aren't being met. And so it ends up
Mm,
being toxic positivity. I noticed Allie wrote some very cool things. I love what he said. Their wound driven ambition.
mm.
Yeah.
I feel that. It's a shame-based motivator that I don't know, this I'm speaking for myself, Ali. It's like, I'm not good enough. I'm gonna prove to my parents, I'm gonna prove to society, I'm gonna prove to you that I'm enough. So I keep going, I keep accumulating, I get the car, I get the house, and I'm like, I have it. And I still have that same dialogue. I'm not enough. Now I'm comparing myself with someone further along. So I keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah. So now he's talking
I'll
about his
be
need to hunt, Dre, to
happy
be in the
when.
land and to be in nature and feel fully human. Because in the city, he feels dull. So the importance of nature in our
Mm,
relationships.
mm,
Ah, I actually went out this morning because I've just been at a lot of events and I was feeling so overwhelmed and I had to go outside in the sun. I must have laid there for a really long time, just humming in my body and connecting with the earth. I think a big part of it is our disconnection. It's from self source and others, but to get resourced, nature has almost everything that we need in terms of the mirrors of our emotions in every little animal in any tree. The tree has its roots, it has its energy that moves. They all speak to us. The Native Americans, and I hope that's not a politically incorrect term, they knew that everything's vibrating with energy. And you're right. I do natural vision improvement stuff, and my vision is not as good when it's in a city. When I'm somewhere else outside of a city, there's a lot more vibrancy to the way that I feel in my body and the way that I see. So,
Yeah. Mm.
nature. Dre, you guys go on winter camping and stuff together
Yeah. No,
deliberately.
it's deliberately because it's a remembrance. Because my
Mm.
ancestors were in nature. My ancestors were with the land. It doesn't matter what culture or country that we're all from. If we're man and woman, our ancestors were one with the land at one point. And going into nature, winter camping is a form of remembrance because it's in my cells. I remember like how to forage again. I remember how to sustain myself. I know how to create that connection with other brothers in the space as well. It just comes naturally when I'm placed in a situation where I can allow that to flourish. I'll also say there's a reason why nature is spelled nature as in natural. It's natural. Nature, there's nothing to do with nature. Nature is just something to be. So I'm definitely with you in terms of like being with nature, and nature grounds me because it just allows me to just be here in the present moment. And if I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, what creates all of this? What creates the forest? What creates the symbiotic relationship that the forest has with the land, with everything underneath it, with the sun? It's all interconnected. There's life that's breathing all around me. And I'm like thinking about, okay, what created all this stuff around me? So when I'm not busy, we're not working all the time, I can ask these questions and start to tap into that consciousness that breathes into everything, that life force energy, right?
Hmm. And I know I don't it's a popular thing right now, the fabulous fungi and the mycelium and all these networks of information. And Greg Braden talks about our antenna above our head and the information above as well that we all absolutely tapped into. Yeah, animals, right? Dogs at ease. We can learn a lot from them. Both my parents, they're elderly. Actually, Dre, my dad just got a new dog too. They're in their 80s. Animals will just give you that unconditional presence. And I think that's, I believe humans can do it. I've seen it. In our class, humans can do it. They can give people unconditional love and acceptance and um, become more like a dog. They don't know what kind of social constructs, cars, houses, they don't know any of that stuff. We're actually the only species on the planet that pays to be here. Like it's absolutely absurd actually. Um it is. Like how did
That's
we get
funny.
we are trapped here in this slave environment. And it shocked me a few years ago. I went into a clinic with my daughter and she was really sick. And I didn't have her health care card and they refused to help her. And I was like, wow. That gave me an indication. Wow, here we are where people are cold enough if they don't have a certain card, they can't see their humanity to help them. Or one time in COVID, I saw a man on the street. He was laying down and I stopped and there was all these construction workers walking by and a guy pulled up in a car beside me and he said, "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of the way." And I'm like, "There's a man here. He's like, you're too close to him." And I'm like, "Oh my God, if I'm living on a planet like this that drives by other human beings who need someone's help," I'm like, wow, how did we get here?
Hmm. I mean, that's a
A
great question
dog
to ask
a
is why?
dog wouldn't do that. A dog would go up and start licking that man. All these reasons to stay away from other people, to hate people, to be rushed, to be truly selfish in a way that is so deleterious to our own well-being.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's to acknowledge it, though at the same time to judge it
To
allow
acknowledge it,
puts me
to what? What? What are we?
well, I mean, Well, acknowledging that human beings can be villainizing and objectifying each other and dehumanizing each other. To judge it just places me back into the same boat as them, if I call it them, right?
That's true. That's true.
So it's for me to accept it as okay, it is what it is. So how do we get to a place where we can really connect and be like the animals of this planet, right? Because I am a human being with all those judgments. I still judge, and for me to shame myself for judging, I don't think is the solution. It's for me to recognize that and okay, how can I see this differently? How can I connect to the humanity of another person?
Mm. So I have a thought. What's the difference between judgment and discernment?
Hmm.
And Allie's saying thanks. Oh, and Juliet. Hey, Jules. How's it going? We need to be the change we want to see. Yeah, we were just talking about that. And thanks, Allie. Yeah. We all need to be more open about all these things. I'm so excited that you guys are popping on here and talking and chatting. So, anyways, judgment and discernment. What's the difference?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I have my comment on that.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Hmm. Sure. Um, a judgment for me is a story.
Oh.
It could be a good or bad, positive or negative. It's a story that I make up on my about what happened. It's an interpretation, an assumption. Discernment is about facts. Mhm. It's about okay, the dog crossed the street. You sent this email at this time. That can't be argued. It's not subjective for me, right? But if I take discernment a bit further, then it's more my inner resonance truth, right? So I like to connect discernment into am I in alignment with my truth or not? It's like my intuition. If I make a decision, right, I can judge and make assumptions and make up a story to convince myself it's a good or bad decision, or I can trust my inner resonance, right? And that's a bit tricky because now it's like, okay, where's the facts in that? Where's the scientific data of intuition? Mhm.
That goes back to the beginning. And
Right.
thank
Muscle
Jules
testing.
has got it. With muscle testing, right? You're in the present moment. Is this situation life giving to me or not? It doesn't matter the stories that people might say. You know, you might have your immune system might be low. So, what might be life giving to someone to go out and run and do soccer one day isn't going to be good for somebody else. And so, how do we discern any given moment what's life giving to us? And it's about presence, it's about our yes or our no in our own body, which comes back to our feelings. Our feelings are actually facts if we don't make up a story and judge them in the moment.
Mm, there we go.
Hmm.
I love how it comes back full circle.
And
Awesome.
Allie, I think, is leaving. Yes. See you next time. That'd be great. Loving having you here. Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you all, Ali, Remus, Jules, for your contributions
Elizabeth
here.
here this morning.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, I think that's a great way to tie it all back together that feelings are facts.
They
Hmm.
are
They are.
indeed.
As long as I don't um, judge them, is what you're saying. Mm.
Yep. As long as you don't make up a story or
Story,
project them
judgment.
outside to someone else.
Mm.
Emotions are our guidance systems. Yes, they are. They're the data that guides us to truth, to
Hmm.
our humanity, which, as Dre said earlier, prevents us from actually killing someone else in a trench. If we shut them off, we can do
100%.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the invitation. Check in with yourself. Allow your feelings and emotions to be expressed. They're just another form of data, an internal GPS system that gets you to what you need. Yeah.
Okay, here. Allie's Remus, sorry, is asking, explain how my feelings are facts again.
Mm.
Can we do that?
Yeah. Go ahead, babe.
Oh, okay. Uh Feelings are facts.
I'll take a crack at it too.
Yeah, okay. Our feelings, so Marshall Rosenberg will describe feelings as emotions or body sensations. If we sense that there's danger out there, we get an instant thing going on in our body that tells us something's going up. If we think about it, we'll make up all of these stories instead of just going, okay, I'm afraid, I need to move or make a decision about what I need to feel safe in this moment. So I take that back to muscle testing, because muscle testing is more of an acceptable thing. Naturopathic doctors and things are testing. My name's Summer. Is it true? Yes or no? So our body knows what's life-giving to it or what's not life-giving to it. And other people can test you from the outside if a supplement's good for you, if another person's energy field's good for you. So how do we know inside our own body what's good for us? Do we have no data and no GPS at all of what is life-giving to us? Are we just these robots that are meant to be programmed and go about life doing whatever with outside information? I think that's maybe what they've tried to make us into. So at any given time, my body gives me the sensation of being tired when I need to lay down and rest and rejuvenate. If I ignore that or judge it and say, well, I can't do that, I'm going to take a coffee and go to work, I'm overriding that. If I walk into a room and Dre's a little bit upset and I notice that and I pretend I don't notice it and I try to avoid it, I'm not being present to what is, and I can't just ask him and say, how are you feeling, and allow him to be with him and where he's at. And the beauty of it all is that our feelings are attached to universal law, because all energy can't be created or destroyed. So we're always trying to create, positive thinking. I'm trying to feel good. So I'll go and let some energy out, or I will positive think or affirm myself out of this negative feeling. But what that does is it disconnects us from our relay system. We bring this up all the time. It's like going to a car and a car battery and looking under the hood and going, oh, there's a negative charge on my battery. Please disconnect it. And like Dre says, when he was stoic his whole life, he's doing that. He's disconnecting the negative charge, and then you're stoic and you're numb and you feel nothing. It's just that we haven't been taught how to process what that actually means. We're trying to fix ourselves to be these robots rather than taking the data to get our needs met. And the
Mm,
needs, again, the needs are our life-serving energy that motivates and sustains us. We aren't slaves. We can't work 12, 14, 16 hours days. We can't do it. We're sentient beings. We're not machinery. We were coming out of the information age and the industrial age. And so psychology tends to follow the type of ages that we come out. Now, if you can imagine, industrial age, it's all about scale. How much can we make for less money? And then
mhm.
the information age, how much information comes in? If we don't know how to discern what's life giving to us and what's not life giving to us, with all this information that bombards us in our world, and we can't be present to what resonates with us, we're going to be overwhelmed. We're going to be adrenal fatigued. We're going to bring up fibromyalgia. And all of these diseases are because we don't know that our feelings are facts
Yeah.
that tell us what's life giving to us. That's my ramble. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah. For my take on this, remiss feelings are facts. It's looking at feelings as being the wisdom or language of my body, because the feelings I can feel it in my body. It's a anger is like a heat that rises from my belly to my chest and to my head. Right. Maybe depression is like I'm closed in and my head's down. So it's the language of my body. And using an example of, let's say there's smoke. Okay, so when I look at smoke, that's my feelings alerting me. But when I see smoke, I can say, well, there's a fire, but I don't see the fire. until I, go explore what the smoke's about. So the fire is my needs. Okay. So when I connect my feelings to my needs, they become that internal GPS system. Then I can deal with that fire. And another example is, let's say I'm depressed, right? And this is where it gets tricky. So when we're saying feelings are facts, well, let's say I'm depressed. That is a fact. I'm depressed. But where it gets sticky is when I have a thought that I judge my depression, that I'm not good enough, that I judge that I'm depressed. So what happens? My thought leads to me becoming more depressed. And so I'm stuck in a thought loop. So actually, thoughts aren't facts. Thoughts are made up. Thoughts are like stories that I tell myself to affirm this belief that I have about myself. Thoughts are judgments. So we're switching it, right? Feelings are facts because they're the language of my body that's communicating to me. But the thoughts I have about it, the story, aren't facts. So I got to separate the feeling from the thought because a thought can lead me to have a certain feeling. That's the tricky part. Okay. If I have a negative thought about myself, I might have some feelings of frustrations or annoyances, and that's directed inwards. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
So,
and this is what I say all the time too, is our body is a conduit of truth. And energy's always moving to its life-giving source. Life serves life as long as we're not judging it. It will give us life-serving insight. And it heals disease. Disease is ill at ease. And it's what we've been taught to judge and remain slaves in our own society.
mm,
Ah, yes. We all do it all the time, telling stories about our feelings. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And that gets me stuck in that loop. Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can simplify it by, okay, what am I needing right now? Am I, if I'm depressed, what am I needing? Well, I'm needing to be, I need connection. I need to be with people. I need to belong. I need to be seen, to be heard. Right. And so when I have that realization, then my, oh, okay, how can I go get this need met? Or ask. Yeah.
I mean, and it is tricky because our culture right now is how we've been taught to tell stories about our feelings. If
Yeah.
you feel
Judge it.
if you feel bad, go get an antidepressant. And Marshall Rosenberg, keep in mind, he was a psychologist for 21 years. He says that he was never taught what his feelings or his needs were. He was never taught to connect to himself. He was taught to give the right answers as defined by authorities.
Mm,
And that's where he decided he was done doing that. He was done making up stories about how he felt and what he needed. And I think he's a man that was way ahead of his time. If you
mm,
ask, does it come as needy? Well,
good question.
good question.
Mm,
I
yeah.
mean, I think depending in some cultures and the way some people do different things, and this is where observing people in this type of work is very helpful because I think that is our culture. We think of needs as selfish, dependent, and needy type things, these ooey gooey things, right? But needs are words that describe the life serving energy that motivates and sustains us. And the thing is, they're universal, which means everybody has the same needs. But if you go in expressing your needs to someone who's used to telling stories about them and are still in the old paradigm of how they're seeing them, it's a bit, there's a bit of a nuance in there. We have to then start seeing through their stories to their feelings and needs. And when we're able to do that for others, they tend to like us a lot. They want to be around us
Hmm.
because we're dropping into their humanity that allows them to feel at peace with themselves.
Yeah. And we miss people. People want to give. People do.
They
People
do.
want to contribute and make someone's life better.
They
Every
do.
single man and woman does. And I truly believe that. It's just that when I'm forced to, when I'm demanded to, when someone people pleases me and wants something out of me that I don't want because it goes against who I am, my free will, my sovereignty. So it's multi-layered. And the first piece is changing the paradigm of that, oh, needs is what makes me human. It doesn't make me needy. It doesn't make me selfish or dependent. That's the first step is rewiring that paradigm. Because this current paradigm is like, yeah, if I ask, I'm going to be needy. I'm a man. I'm strong. I don't need anything. I got everything covered, right? So it's like rewiring that and knowing that I do have needs and that I can ask for it. The second part is the layer of like, if I'm asking for it, am I asking it from a place of a demand where if you don't say yes, then I'm going to respond very poorly, guilt you, shame you, right? So it's a practice. Though I always start with the first part of it is just rewiring that paradigm is a great place to start.
And I'll add to that because you said, especially as a man, right? I think particularly with men, they think they're selfish and needy. Um, if Dre was who he was before, I wouldn't be dating him. Stoic, not showing any emotion. Women can't connect to men. Women can't connect to other women, never mind. But without the emotion, without being present, without being authentic, there's no intimacy.
Mm,
People want intimacy, but then they don't want to feel. So then there's this, well, that's impossible.
mm,
Mm.
yeah.
So yeah, our connection through conscious communication course goes through the whole gamut of how we communicate in a way that allows our needs to be met without them coming across as selfish, independent, and needy, without them becoming across as demands, but just allows us to drop into our shared humanity.
Mm, right. Because when I connect to you, your shared humanity, Remus, or anyone, when I connect to your pain and your hurt, it's an invitation for me to like bring joy to that, bring joy into your life. Instead of it becoming a demand, it becomes an invitation, right? Because if I invite you, it's up to you if you want to say yes or no, versus, hey, you should go to this, right? It's a difference. Yeah. So it's honoring the sovereignty of each individual human being to make the choice for them. That's an alignment. And it can get tricky and with, yeah, why am I doing this? The people pleaser, right? The covert contracts and unpacking that a bit more. Though that's a whole separate piece.
Maybe next
Um,
week we'll talk about that. Why have we
People
been
pleasing.
taught to behave in certain ways to get certain
Oh,
results? The
totally.
subtle
I mean,
that we've been brought up, how we get away
mhm.
from that and be aware of it.
Well, totally, because people pleasing is all about me giving my power away and me expecting someone to fill my needs without me asking for it directly. And so we're doing this to each other and we're not being open and clean and transparent about it. Right? And that means that like it goes
Silliness.
back to
Just
the culture
silly.
of like, I shouldn't take care of my own needs. I should
Mhm.
ask people in a backhanded way to get my needs met.
Yeah, very backhanded. We've been taught that.
Yeah.
Ah,
And
so authentic, open, accepting,
yeah.
learning how.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody that came on today. We'll be here every
Yeah.
day.
Every week, creating the space to, yeah, get resourced, connecting to ourselves, others, and source. Anything around relationships,
And nature.
nature included.
Yeah,
100%. We're all in relationship with each
absolutely.
other.
Yeah.
It's all connected. All right. See you next week.